Thanks for watching or listening. We're on episode 101 of VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell. As usual, always, please beg of you, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a nice comment and even leave a nasty one, I suppose, if you want. We'll look at it. But we've got rhino skin here, especially that Mr. Evans there. Oof, I don't know what. He's a hippo when it comes to... He couldn't care less.
Send any comments you've got in it. It's good, isn't it?
You just send them in. And if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, you can also say whatever you like. We don't care. But we want you to say nice things about our special guest because he's a good fella. Maybe John and myself aren't. You know John Evans, who's with myself, Steve Lillis. Our special guest this week, one of our VIP Boxing stable stars. It's middleweight Bradley Rea. Brad, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, mate.
Good.
Just back in the gym this week, getting back into the swing of things. So, so hopefully we'll get some news for a fight soon and get back to it.
Yeah, it's been 2 months since you had that setback against Tyler Denny, and I think I saw you briefly at the Jolly Boys before Christmas. And didn't Boxer want you out pretty quick on this bill on Saturday night in Manchester, and you decided against it? Am I correct in thinking that?
Yeah, so I think they mentioned it to Steve. But yeah, I broke my hand in the fight. I've not punched, since the fight. I've still not got the all clear from the hospital. Yeah, I'm just back in the gym and just taking over at the moment. Hopefully, over the next week or two, I'm going to get the all clear to crack on and start punching with both hands again. But but it's still not 100%. But like I said, over the next few weeks, hopefully, we're going to get the thumbs up.
Yeah, so regarding this year for you, boxing-wise, when you get back into action, are you after the rematch with Denny or the winner of his fight with Brad Pauls, or might you take an alternative route for now?
No, I'd love to get back to winning ways, and then I'd love the Denny fight again. Obviously, I know I can't just say I want the fight and it'll happen. I've got to prove myself. I've got to earn the fight, and I'll probably have to get myself in a position where that fight can happen. But I'm willing to do that for I feel like before I can move on and crack on with my career, I want to put things right, and I feel like if I box him again, I feel like I would do.
Hey, Brad, you just said then you broke your hand. It's something a lot of people listening and watching will never have to go through in their entire life. We probably can't imagine it. But when you find yourself in a hard fight like that was, where Denny was building momentum, you knew how to turn it around, then your hand goes, how does that feel? Has it happened to you before? And how do you cope with it? Did you block it out, or can you feel it every time? What was it like?
It's hard, it's I struggle with bad hands anyway, so I think a lot of the time it's managing it, whether it's through training or during the fight. But I think it gets to a certain point, I could feel it throughout the fight if I would land it at kind of a certain angle, and, I'd have a little wins. But I think later on in the fight, it got to the point where in my head I was, oh, fuck it, I'm getting beat here anyway, I might as well just let it go. In the long run, did it do it a bit more damage? Probably, but I'll give it a good go in the last few rounds, and you just got to try and block them things out, and you can feel it during the fight, but it's afterwards when you realise the damage you've done. And when I took the glove off after the fight, that's when I was like, I've done some damage here to this. But like I say, it's just part of the game. It's just part of the game. You've got to try and push through it.
Yeah, it's something people watching, they just say, oh, he broke his hand, carry on throwing it. They've got no idea what, not just the pain, but the mentality it takes to load up on a big right hand when it's broken. And do you have to prepare yourself to throw it, set it up for a few seconds and get yourself ready to do it? How does that work, or does it just come out automatic?
Yeah, no, I think sometimes it happens natural and you would pull it, but sometimes, like you say, in your head, you think, well, I've got to let this go now. You've got to prepare yourself for the bit of pain that you're going to feel. But when you're in there with the adrenaline and stuff, it's not the usual pain you'd have from a broken hand. You just think, right, I've just got to let this go.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for that, and all the best for your boxing career this year. And I'm sure you'll be back to winning ways and on them big shows again. But what we'll do, we'll kick on now of our 6 rounds. You know how it works, Brad. You've been on before. 3 minutes each topic. John has his stopwatch, or I don't know what he has, but he has a bell, and something there that tells him when it's 3 minutes up. I'm no idea what he might have one of these guys who mentally knows everything. We don't know.
Yeah, I've got a clock in my head. 3 minutes in my head. I get the final 10 seconds. I just know where it's coming.
That's cool.
Lee Hogan, who does the editing, doesn't take a blind bit of notice of it anyway. Because if you watch it back, it just goes every 3 minutes, regardless of the end of the topic.
Yeah,
sort it out, Lee.
I've tried telling Lee, but you know what? Big Lee threatens to come and do me if I'm too lippy. So there you go. So John Evans is telling you now, Lee. But there you go. We'll crack on round one. Are you ready, Mr. Evans?
Yeah, ready when you are.
And first subject, a fight that interests everybody, and in Brad's division, and Brad wants to talk about this one. Eubank Jr. at Smith at the weekend. Give us your take, Brad.
Yeah, I think it's a great matchup. It's a really tough one to call, I think. A really tough one to call. And I think for me, it could potentially be a fight of two halves. I think Eubank's style early on for Smith is going to be a nightmare. I can see Eubank winning a lot of the early rounds, but then I can see Smith coming on strong and winning a lot of the later rounds. I think my heart says Smith, my head says Eubank. Is a fight I'm torn about, but it's a fight I'm excited, and I think at some point it'll catch fire. And for me, I think it's going to be very entertaining.
John?
Yeah, I can't wait for it. We loved this when it got announced, didn't we? Do you know what? The closer it's got, the more I'm edging to Eubank. I just think, like Brad said, I think the style's going to be really, really difficult for Liam to overcome. And for size, I wonder if Liam can hurt Eubank enough, because Eubank's got a tremendous chin, unbelievably fit, and he's big at the weight. And as much as Eubank's, people are saying, oh, Smith's style could be really hard for Eubank with that constant pressure making him work. I just think those things make it pretty hard for Liam. But it's going to be a thrilling fight. I just wonder if Liam's bodywork might start to pay from like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But as the fight gets closer, I'm edging more and more to Eubank.
Yeah, we've seen Liam so often, pace out a fight. Think of the Liam Williams fights, particularly in the second half, how he come on. You know what? I'm still like this on it. One I'm thinking now, and I've been thinking the last few days about how good Liam Williams' defense is. Can that frustrate you, Ben? I think he's got a fantastic defense. Maybe I'm a bit biased. John knows out, Brad, how much I think of Liam Smith as a boxer and the fella as well. But you know what? I think there's something you said on this podcast that sticks with me a lot, John, when we were talking of Eubank Ben. And you were saying if George Groves, a banger, couldn't budge Eubank, then not Conor Ben wasn't. And I think it's the same in this, and that I just don't. I think that's what's got me edging towards Eubank. I think Liam's defense can give him problems and frustrate him, but ultimately, I don't think Liam is going to have the power to put any major dent in him. And I don't think it's going to be a classic. I think it'll be a really good fight. I don't think we'll be clamouring for a rematch. And I'm going to go Eubank on points. But I might change my mind before the weekend.
Yeah, so they've sparred, haven't they? So there's the old picture going around of them sparring at... it was actually when I was at college.
Yeah,
when I was at college in Bolton, and it was where we used to train at Gallagher's gym, and it was in the gym that day. I remember watching the sparring. If that's anything to go off, it'll be a good one. It'll definitely be a good one. The spar was good.
You know what? I forgot about the sparring, and I was up there. It was for one of Liam's fights on Box Nation, and I was there the next day, and and Liam wasn't doing lot. It was on a Wednesday, and Liam wasn't doing a lot that day because they'd done a big sparring session on the Tuesday, and people were saying how good it was.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that until it cropped up last week. Did you see that? What did you make of the spar, Brad?
Yeah, if that's anything to go off, I think it'll catch fire at some point. It was good as a young kid. I don't know how old I was, 17 years old or something. I remember sitting and watching it and thinking, this is a high level spar. I think Eubank was probably a bit earlier on in his career. At the time. But yeah, it was definitely an entertaining one to watch.
Are we 3 minutes there, John?
Yeah, past.
Well, Lee will be ringing bells by now and selling us off. So anyway, round two. Jack Massey fight the weekend on the same bill at Manchester Arena, or the AO Arena, whatever it's called now. It's the MEN to old fogies like myself. Jack Massey moving up the heavyweight, Joseph Parker. A lot of people have raised eyebrows at this, but you know what? I can see why he's done it. He's going to be getting a lot of money. He could be getting 180, 200 to 200,000 for this fight. And you can't blame him, because he's lost to Riakporhe at cruiserweight, and he could look at the cruiserweight divisions and there's a Coley out on his own. He could fight Chris Billam-Smith and Riakporhe, either of them, get about 60 grand, and he wouldn't be a favourite in those fights. So business-wise, I see why he's gone for this fight, even though I can't make a case for him. Obviously, people will look, a couple of people said to me, you got to look how bad Parker was against Junior 4. I think it was in 2021. But since then, he's had those 2 Chisora fights and that epic with Joe Joyce. And it's hard to make a case for Jack Massey. But, boxing's about money. And I can see why he's gambled with this. And good luck to him, even if I can't make much of a case for him. How do you see it, John?
Yeah, same. Parker is going to stop him, isn't he? I know Parker got stopped by Joyce, but if Parker lands even 2 or 3 of the bombs that he landed on Joyce, it's going to be tough work for Massey, isn't it? I understand it perfectly, yeah. He's a big lad, Jack, got nothing to lose. All he has to do is put up a good show in an exciting fight. It doesn't matter the outcome. He's going to get business off the back of it, isn't he? So, yeah, fully understand him, and good luck to him for taking the challenge.
Brad?
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Jack. Got on very well with him. He's a top lad, but like you say, it's a very big ask. Like you say, for the money he's probably getting, it's definitely worth the risk. And with Parker, when he boxed far, and did he underestimate him? Did he take training a little bit lightly? And he probably didn't do that against the Joyces or who he's boxed since then, because he's a big dangerous heavyweight. Is he gonna underestimate Jack a little bit? Is he going to pull off in the training a little bit? And you never know that it can give, like you say, a good performance for Jack, what he could lead on to in his career. But you've got to favour Parker, and but hopefully being on a boxer show and putting in a good performance could lead on to, like you say, they've got Billam-Smith now, they've got Riakporhe, Isaac Chamberlain's been on boxer shows.
I forgot about Isaac, yeah.
Like I say, Coley looks like he's potentially moving to boxer. So it's going to open doors for him. Like I say, a big payday. At the end of the day, it's what boxing's about, providing for your family. And like I say, hopefully it can lead on to bigger things, even if he doesn't get a decision.
Brilliant. Well, round 3 is John's first topic. Power punches, John.
Yeah. I remember talking to Colin Hart down in the old Box Nation days about this. And he said one of the things that holds a lot of British fighters back, apart from people like Lewis and the heavyweights, is lack of real power at the top level. He said, we've got good fighters, but when it gets to that level where they're fighting these tough Mexicans and Americans, it's that lack of power that sometimes just holds them back. And it's always stuck in my mind. But I was looking through the people we've got coming through at the moment. We've got Dubois, and then Italma coming through at the moment, people are raving about, and if you would believe the stories. But then on the lower levels, Brad can punch as well. We've got people like Mark Chamberlain. We've got Sam Noakes. We've got Tommy Fletcher. And we've just got out-and-out punchers coming through. And I was just wondering to Brad, how important do you think it is, Brad, to have that equaliser, or maybe not even the equaliser, the ability to really put doubt in someone's mind when you get to those higher levels?
Yeah, for me, I think that's what it is a lot of the time, the doubt. If you go out for a first round with someone and they hit you with a shot and it's, oh, fucking hell, I felt that. I don't want to feel that again. I think for the rest of that, the 12-round fight, you're going to be wary, you're going to be cautious. If you go out that first round, you get caught clean on the chin and you think, right, I can take this, happy days. It just gives you that little bit more confidence to kind of take the risk and to kind of put the pressure on when you have to. And like you say, it's always that equaliser. If the fight's not going your way, later on in the fight where you can pull it out of the bag. One of my favourite fighters of all time, Julian Jackson, he could just you were never ever safe, not for one moment. You can win 11 rounds for the fight and switch off for 1 second, and you're going to sleep. And I think fighters like that, they just they're exciting as well, which makes people want to tune in. It's all good. We'll say we appreciate watching a 12-round boxing lesson. We can appreciate it as boxers and as boxing fans, but you'd much rather watch someone get knocked out cold, wouldn't you? As brutal as it sounds.
We all love a Terry Norris. Yeah, Terry Norris or Julian Jackson.
Julian Jackson, of course, he's won against Errol Graham in Benal Medina. Was it 1990, November 1990, or around that time of year? I think it was 89 or 90 when he had that trifle. That was the equaliser. That was that was like being 4-0 down and winning 5-4 with the last, with a sensational
next goal wins when you played at kids, wasn't it?
I'm a believer that maybe you don't need to be a murderer's row puncher, but you certainly need that pop, unless you're someone like Sonny Edwards who can break your heart through being in range and all that. I mean, that's why I'm such a massive fan of Miguel Cotto. He wasn't a concussive one-punch knockout artist, but you had to. You respected his power straight away, but he also had them skills where he could read everything you was doing. He'd make you miss by the smallest margin at his palm, and that's the reason I'm a big fan of Cotto. I'm even wearing his tracksuit tonight, even if never got the result for me in this fight. Round 4, well, you know what? I've just been thinking. I haven't been the most enamoured at times with Anthony Joshua, but I've found the stick he's been getting the last 3-4 weeks a little bit too much. First, he was hammered over maybe fighting the Australian Dempsey McKean when he comes back in April, and now he's fighting Jermaine Franklin, which to me is a perfectly good fight, but there's still some grumbling. I just don't get. He's just come off of 2 really bad losses. This against Usyk. Well, when I say bad, in world title fights, yes, they're bad losses. The second one, he seemed to have some sort of mental breakdown. And the fact that people are saying he should be getting in with Wilder straight away or getting in with Fury after those 2 fights is utter madness. And I don't see anything wrong with him having a gimme when he comes back. I wouldn't even have complained if he had someone 5 times worse than Dempsey McKean when he came back. I just find it. I'm just a bit. I just think there's this real. Everyone wants, there's obviously everyone loves Tyson Fury, but there's a real let's just bash Joshua at the moment. And it wouldn't matter to me if he come back with someone who's not even in the world top 100 just to get that win before he kicks on.
Yeah, I think he deserves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He deserves it. I think out of a lot of the people, especially the heavyweights, if you look at his resume, he's never been scared to get in there with Josh, with the people that the fans are crying out for him to fight Joshua, which is why I think now, like you say, he's took 2 fights against Usyk there, which is the bigger one of the division, and no one wants to fight him. Joshua's got in there with him twice, and yeah, I think he deserves a little bit of a comeback fight. Get back to winning ways, and like you say, a bit of a confidence booster you've seen after the last fight. I think he needs that, and I think with the way you finish that last fight, you won't want to see him in there with Wilder next, would you? Or you won't want to see him in there with Fury if his head isn't in the right place. So hopefully a bit of a comeback fight, getting back to winning ways, and then if his career's anything to go by so far, he'll be happy to jump in there with the Wilders and the Furies.
He's a victim of what we've complained about on here a few times, isn't he? If you don't fight often enough, the fighters.
Yeah.
So every fight becomes a big, important event. Yeah. Why not let him fight Dempsey McKean in April, and then Jermaine Franklin in June, and then someone else in September, and then fight Wilder at Christmas? That's what boxing should be. Joshua could fight 3 or 4 times. I think Franklin's a good test, actually.
I do.
He give White a real good fight, and he'll be ambitious. It'll be his big chance. He beat White, I thought. So it's I think it's a good little matchup, but Joshua should be fighting 3-4 times. Let him get the rust off under no pressure, and just I'll mention something about this in my last topic, but he's just a victim of the way boxing's going at the moment.
And it's gonna sell anyway, isn't it? A Joshua fight.
People
You
want
could put
to.
him in with someone off the street, and it'd sell people a tune.
Absolutely.
He could sell out the arenas.
Absolutely. Round 5, your final subject, Brad, and you're going to give us your opinions on the YouTubers that are boxing.
Yeah, so I've seen. I didn't tune in on Saturday night. You know, it's not my cup of tea. Each to their own if people want to watch it. But I've seen a lot of professional boxers taking to Twitter, taking to social media, and having a moan about, you know, the platform, you know, these YouTubers are getting, and, you know, the money that they're making. And for me, I don't think it's really our place to complain. For me, you know, they're not getting this platform and they're not getting this money because of how good they are. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, they're getting paid so much money because of the you know, the views that they get and the crowds that they bring in and the paying public. You know, if I was bringing in as many, you know, fans and putting bums on seats as they are, I'm sure I'd be getting the same. It's how it works. You know, you don't get paid for how good you are. You get paid for how much money you're going to make people. And, you know, they're clearly making a lot of people a lot of money at the moment. So for me, it's not really my place to complain. You know, I'd complain if I was, you know, selling out arenas and, you know, selling all these tickets, but I wasn't getting paid that money. But they're doing the job at the end of the day. And yeah, the standard's not very good, but, you know, they're not professional boxers at the end of the day, are they?
Now, you know what? I didn't tune in Saturday. It's not my. I'm with you. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not no real interest in who KSI is. I mean, look, I'm 60 years of age. I've heard of KSI. I met the geezer once at a Frank Buglioni fight, and I had no idea who he was. He was a bit surprised, actually, even though that was a few years ago, because he told me then he had 600,000 followers, and it meant nothing to me at all. But anyway, that's by the by. Look, you know what? I don't give a monkey what they do. If someone gets hurt, that's that side of boxing's problem. You know, and please God, no one does get hurt. But that's their problem. On that, you know, the Bosserman, Sauerlands, they've got to look after it and take what comes of it. You know, I have a bigger problem with guys from the white collar who are turning over, who are 8 and 9 and 0, and have fought 6 journeymen who have walked them around, and they think they're actual champions. I have a bigger problem with that in boxing than these YouTubers.
This is the thing as well. If you watch a lot of them YouTuber crossover fights, whatever, they're probably more evenly matched. You know, the standard's not as good, but they're getting in with someone who's at a similar level to him.
Yeah, this is it. And, you know, I go to boxing like you two do, and you can spot when a journeyman's having a walk around in London shows, whereas a lot of white collar kids have turned over. And they're just not good enough, and they're 9 and 0. Thankfully, and all credit to the British Boxing Board of Control, they've put the block on this now, and you've got to have some amateur experience, which is fantastic. I don't. What's your take on the YouTube?
Well, we're over,
going off topic.
My topic's a similar topic, so we'll just carry on. But I was watching all this bitching again about Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. De La Hoya saying he's not got a contract and he's going to move on, and that Espinosa going on about. And I thought, boxing's killing itself.
Yeah.
And it's pathetic. But one thing, I don't know who Phaser is, or I'm not interested in any of that. But what does seem to happen is the people who watch that, they get the fights they want.
Yeah.
We'll get a YouTuber A against YouTuber B. They don't drag it out and milk it, get the milking stool out and milk it for 6 months. The fight happens and the fans pack the arena and it sells out. And people watch it on pay-per-view. In professional males boxing, because the girls give them credit, they fight anyone straight away. There's no building up there. Professional male boxing is the people who are controlling it and making the fights. It's going down the pan because they're not giving the public what they want to see. You know, when all this started and various new promoters were saying that they were going to try and branch into the social media side of it by putting on rappers and making it a night of entertainment. That if they went to those shows and that's what they came away with, they got the wrong end of a stick. The people that go to these YouTube shows, they care about the people who are fighting because they've been promoted properly and built up. They don't know who's going to win because the fights, they might not know much about the sport, but the fights seem to be reasonably evenly matched. And they just take entertainment in the night. They're there from the first fight to the last fight. And that's what these if these promoters are going to follow the social media platform, they've got to make people care about people like you, Brad, who are good fighters. They've got to match you properly in exciting stuff, and then the fans will come. But at the minute, YouTube's showing them how to do it.
And you know what? So you used a couple of things you said I was going to say, John. It's entertainment's the word. It's almost like the sports entertainment side of the industry, where not like WWE, where the outcome's sorted out before and it's like a soap opera, the storyline. But there's a storyline before the fight. There's some rivalry. You know, there's the beef there. They sell it brilliantly, and it is entertainment. And for me, you've got to look at someone like, obviously, ironically, he's promoted by the Sauerlands, who are heavily involved with this. Maris Bredos, who was the world cruiserweight champion.
Yeah.
He jumped onto it, challenging Jake Paul. More people know Breedis as the world champion who challenged Jake Paul than what he actually fucking achieved as a cruiserweight.
Yeah. Brad, I mean, someone like you're a good. If you know Brad, he's a good lad. He's a right laugh. He's a good character. It's like it should be a penalty kick. You're in exciting fights. You've stepped up every time. Every time's been good to watch. That's what should be being done. Not putting some shit rapper on singing a ring entrance song. It's got to be about you people, and that's what the YouTube is. It's about the fighters and it's about the people, and that's what they've got to do. This is
one thing for me with, like you say, you get the fights that they want.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the problem with people in my position coming up is the fans. The fans will say, "You've not boxed anyone, you're no good." And in my case, I'll think, right, come on, let's take the step up, let's take the risk. It doesn't pay off, and then the fans are, it's useless, him is no good. You can't please them a lot of the time. Which for me, I think the fans should just be happy when the fighter takes a risk, when the fighter takes a plunge. And I think if we are, I think a lot more will.
If you asked a lot of boxing fans who their favourite fighter is, we'll say Arturo Gatti.
Yeah.
Did he lose 10?
But 9 or 10, yeah. I mean,
9 or 10, yeah. It's mad. And it's not even about just being an exciting brawler, is it? It's about just being a good fighter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if
you just said it. It's like, you know what? My favourite fighter is Evander Holyfield. And you look at him, from even when, he's first, he had the cruiserweight reign, and then I think he fought, was it Seamus McDonough? And after that, it was just a procession of hard fights, wasn't it?
Yeah. I love people like Barrera and Morales. And if you follow the fight, if you know the story, you get, as a fan, you get more from watching them come back. Like, Brad, there'll be people who know you. If you come back and beat Denny in a rematch, it just adds to your story, doesn't it? But people care more about that rather than just watch you go through 20 stage managed victories against people like Steve said, walking you around. No one has to be undefeated. If you ups and downs and coming back, and it'll build you. It gives your career more of a storyline for people to follow and get invested in. I just think they're going about it completely wrong, and we slag off for YouTubers, but maybe they've just got something right.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we got 2 rounds into one there, didn't we? I don't know how Leah edit the bells there and the topics for us there, John, but I think we got a good 6 minutes in there for him.
Yeah. Hold on.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brad, thanks for coming on this week.
I'll tell you what, we've got a few minutes left. It's my favourite topic, isn't it? These fucking lightweights. Brad, what do you make of this Davis and Garcia stuff again, with the arguing about contracts when it was supposedly done?
Yeah, I think it's, where's this thing come from of having deadlines for a contract? Like what the fuck is it about? Like, it's just never a thing. And, Fury did it. Now it looks like De La Hoya's, shouting it about, just make the fight. Doesn't matter how long it takes, just make the fight. And it's, it's just dramas. It was, last week it was pretty much done.
Yeah.
Today it's pretty much up in the air. And for me, that's a big fight. That's a big fight. Over in America, when you look at the views and selling tickets and filling out arenas, that is one of the biggest fights that can be made. But just get the fight done. I think they both clearly want the fight. But it's a lot of, I'm the A side, I'm the B side, I'm getting more money. It's at the end of the day, you're both getting a lot of money. They both believe that they can win the fight. For me, I think it's controversial, but I think I'd back Garcia. I really do think about Garcia. Yeah, it's great. I know it's controversial, but I think Garcia's style could just be a nightmare for Tank. But like you say, he's got that power where Garcia could win 11 rounds and he could get knocked out in the 12th. But yeah, for me, I think I don't bet at all, but I think I might have a little dabble on Garcia if that fight gets made.
Yeah, I'm on the same. But it's something you said there about contracts, John. If you go back, Klitschko and when Klitschko's were the heavyweight champions calling the shots, and in that Mayweather era when he was at welterweight and fighting every May and September, they wouldn't even bother announcing the fights till 6 weeks before the contracts wouldn't be signed. Now you've got to sign a contract 4 months out about everything. It's just nuts, isn't it?
It is. It's nuts. I tell you what, El Brook would have fought a biggish rival, been out again fighting another rival in summer, and then had a big one in Christmas in the YouTube world. Instead, we're just going to get excited when we finally announce Tank against Garcia in September, aren't we? It's mad. It's mad. Think how big Garcia and Tank could be if we fought each other and then fought Shakur and then had a rematch at Christmas. Think about how big they'd be.
It's not going to happen, though, is it? It's a fight. I still wouldn't be shocked if it never happened this year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I lost the will to live. The one that made me more cynical about boxing than ever was when Mayweather and Pacquiao met 6 years too late. They should have been meeting straight after Manny Pacquiao knocked out Ricky Hatton. That was when Pacquiao was at his absolute hottest.
Yeah.
And instead we waited 6 years for it after that.
I'll tell you what, Crawford Spence are giving it a good run.
Yeah, well, not quite 6 years, but it's already gone, especially with Spence looking like he's moving up. And once he moves up, he's not going to come back down.
I'm getting to the point now where I don't even think that fight's going to happen.
Yeah.
I really don't. And if it does, like you say, it'll be like Mayweather Pacquiao when it's well too late. And, you know, the excitement will be gone. It'll be gone. I think with the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, by the time it happened, I don't think anyone was even that arse.
No, we just knew it was just a cash cow fight for both of them, and no one denied it. Because I'd never deny any boxer that sort of payday after his pay. But imagine that happening a few months after Ricky had lost to Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Or after Cotto had bust up Margarito.
Yeah, those sort of times. I mean, you just become cynical about it. And you're a young man, Brad. You know, a young man in his 20s with a big career ahead of him. And you're talking there of Spence and Crawford, and you're cynical about it ever happening. And when it does, it'll be past it. You know, and you're a young man in this game. You know, it's a. You know, what you're saying is right, but you got about YouTubers, John, and they're giving what they want. When young boxers are getting cynical about greats meeting or sounding cynical, it's people of Brad's age. That's the point I'm making.
Will say, "Oh well, KSI will fight." I can't even invent a name, and it'll happen.
Yeah. Now, what you said there was just listening and looking at you saying that, Brad. It said a lot to me when, young people, you need to embrace the sport, whether they're boxers or what, not make absolutely correct points about when they fighting. Will anyone care? What a shame that would be.
We live in a time when people want everything now. If you want something, you can go on your phone. If you've got Amazon Prime, it's in your house the next day or the same day. Yeah. People want everything now. Boxing's in the dark ages where they're letting things build up. And the YouTubers and stuff are giving people what they want straight away.
Right. You're right, John. You only have to look at things like when there's a drama series on BBC. You can, if you're an old fogey like me, you can watch it every Sunday night on the TV. But if you need it now, you just go to BBC Player and watch the lot in 6 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Bit of Downton Abbey.
You know what? I loved the first series of that, and then I got rid of it after that. I couldn't do it. I'm into that thing with Sarah Lancashire at the moment. I think on a Sunday night, but it's fantastic. But there you go. That's me. That's what old people do on a Sunday night. They watch Sarah Lancashire as a police sergeant. I mean, I forget what it's called, but I know she's in it. Yeah. Anyway, fellas, we've gone from YouTubers to Sarah Lancashire to Brad talking about Spence and Crawford in about 60 seconds. I don't know how that happened. But Brad, thanks very much for joining us. All the best for getting back in the gym, and I hope it's not too long before you're allowed to punch again. John, thanks as always. Yes, you've been a brilliant guest, and we'll get you on again in a few months.
Yeah, definitely, anytime.
John, thanks as always. I know you've had a busy day, mate, so you can chill now and catch up and watch, I don't know, Downton Abbey on Box Set or something.
Yeah, I'll give it. Steve Lillis recommended series 1, so I'll give it a go.
But thanks very much, everyone who's watching and listening, and we'll see you all next week, where I think we're going back to the 90s next week. Cornelius Carr's going to come on the show next week.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, he wants to come on, listens every week, wants to come on. So he's booked for next week. Cornelius Carr's our special guest. Thanks, fellas, and thanks, everybody.
Info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north. Click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.